Welcome back to the Gweilo 60 channel. You know, the Americans are fighting a proxy war in the Ukraine against Russia. They're also fighting a proxy war in Israel against Hamas or the Palestinians. They're trying to start a proxy war between Taiwan and mainland China. Their economy is what, 33 or 34 trillion dollars in the hole. Their society's in decline. The world is looking like shit for them. And the only way for them to sort of pull their ass out of grass is to start another war. Of course, the military-industrial complex is the way that the American government, the American elites make money. When they sell $1 billion worth of arms to whatever country, or themselves, they get taxes on that. Like these companies pay taxes to the American government. You think the American government would be doing it if they didn't get tax dollars off these companies? Anyway, there's talk about a war, and it's actually started already. The propaganda wars have already started between China and the United States. And what would I do? And I get this question all the time. What would I do if China and, let's say, NATO went to war? Living in mainland China, my only home is in China, in Nanning City. I've committed to living here for the rest of my life. My wife is buried here in Nanning City. As most people that watch this channel know, I'm committed 100% to China. So what would I do if a war started between China and the United States, Canada, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and whoever else jumped on their side? And I would imagine China wouldn't be alone either. You know, they'd have the North Koreans, they'd have the Iranians, they'd have the Russians, they'd have a group of countries that would back them also. But as a Canadian, well, you see, for one thing, chances are Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative candidate, will get in the next time, because I think he's got like 50% or more of the popular vote in Canada. So, and he's anti-China. So chances are he's going to jump on board with the Americans, and that will leave me as an expat from a foreign country that is hostile towards China if a war breaks out. What will I do? Now, I've thought about this a lot, guys, like seriously, because it is something that could become a reality in a couple of years, in a year, in 10 years, but it could become a reality. So I have to sort of hedge my bet and try to understand how I would get through something like this. Would the Chinese government be sympathetic to somebody like me? I don't know. Would I have a chance? Would I be told, get the fuck out? You know, see, that again, I don't know. But my only home is here in China. I'm invested in China 100%. So what would I do? Where would I go? How would I do it? I think I'd probably I'd probably ask for asylum in China. I'd probably turn my back on Canada, as I have before, and just stay here. And hopefully the Chinese government or the Chinese people would embrace me as they have in the past. Man, it's a tough question, isn't it? I'm heavily invested in finances in Canada also. So if I went the asylum direction, chances are my investments in Canada would be frozen. I have family in Canada. Just hope that the war doesn't hit the ground in Canada where my family is. Just hope we don't get nuked here in southern Guangxi Autonomous Region, because as the world turns, as a war develops between nuclear powers, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the whatever. So yeah, she's quite a brain fart to think about. What would I do if a war broke out between the Western world and China? Then again, because of my affiliation with China and my history with China and promoting China through YouTube and whatever, how would I be looked at in the Western world if I decided to go back? Would I be a Julian Assange? Would I end up in prison? Would I end up in a concentration camp like the Japanese, Canadians during the Second World War? Would I be one of those people that would be, I don't know, persecuted by the Western governments because of my views on China? That's another thing the person's got to look at. Like, Jesus Christ, you know. So I'm sort of sitting here in between two countries, or three, or four, or five, and I have views that are sort of outside a normal view of how the world should turn. And it might come back and bite me in the ass one day. And I know that. But as long as I can stay in mainland China, I will. Even if a war broke out, I'd try to stay here rather than go someplace else. Why is that? Well, because this is where I live. This is where I feel comfortable. This is my home now. My home isn't on Vancouver Island. It really never was. That was Weifang Street. My home has never been in Canada. I was there because I had to work. I didn't like it there. It's cold. It's boring. The food sucks, and the government sucks even worse. So the question is, what would I do? I would try to stay in China. I would try to probably get asylum in China and just try to live my life the same way as I do now, and hope for the best for not only myself, but my family back in Canada, because I don't want to see them get hurt either. Actually, I don't want to see a war between China and the rest of the world. China's been able to sort of push that away, but how long can they do that? You know, they've been in a propaganda war with the United States for 5, 6, 7 years, and usually that's a prelude to things to come. And I would think that chances are sooner or later I'm going to have to deal with this situation, because the political systems are butting heads, and they have butted heads for a long time, and it's a scary situation. What the hell was that? Well, shithead, eh? Flies. But you know, the idea that not only myself, but there's a number of tubers out there that are going to have to put up with something like this in the future, or decide what they're going to do. And it would be nice to hear from them on this subject, because it's getting serious now, guys. You wouldn't notice it from the streets of Nanning City, but I watch our politics, and I watch the news, I watch the rhetoric, I watch the politicians in the West, and by golly, there's shit gonna hit the fan sooner or later, and people like me are going to be the ones in the middle that neither China or Canada will know what to do with. If you're in a position like me, and war broke out between your country and a place like China, and you'd invested in it as much as I have, what would you do? Comment section below, guys, because like it's one of those things that I've had to ponder for a while. And you know, I knew what I was doing when I moved over here, sold my house, got my new visas and everything, and buried Weifang here and stuff like that. I knew I was committing to China 100%. And I knew that this is a possibility that could happen in the future. Was it the right decision? Well, I guess time will tell. But right now, I'm sort of floating around trying to figure it out. And I really don't know what to do, to tell you the truth. If it happened, what would I do? What would you do? What should I do? Good question. Think about it. That's another video, a short video from Gweilo 60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Push that share button. Go look at those pretty girls. And until next time, peace out. Bye now.